I didn't see the message.
It's recording.
It's recording.
I can pause it if you want.
No, I would start recording.
Okay,
Tell me when it's ready.
it's going.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bonelli. I'm an associate extension educator with Yukon Extension. Today's program is funded by a grant from USDA NIFA through the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program. Today's discussion will be on farm business planning. There's some very important issues or characteristics for a successful farmer. One is, I believe, that the farmer must have a vision. A vision is a realistic idea of what your business is going to be. Commitment is also very important. Running your business will take much more of your time than working for someone else, especially at the beginning. It's also important to be able to prioritize. You will have to be able to set priorities for the best long-term outcome for your business. Next is the ability to multitask. Any business, including farm businesses, will require a lot of different tasks that must be done throughout the season. It's important to be able to multitask to ensure that all jobs are done in a timely, complete manner for the entire farm. The last would be the ability to communicate. I personally think over the years that I've worked with farmers throughout Connecticut and in the Northeast, is the ability to communicate, I think, is very, very important. One of the important issues of communication, I think, is understanding the ability, first to understand what someone is saying as well too. So communication is the ability to understand before you worry about the ability to be understood as well too. That goes for not only working with members of your family but also members of the community, your customers, etc. as well too. So think about how you communicate, and again, the idea of practicing what I call active listening. Again, and to repeat maybe myself again here, but again, active listening infers the ability to understand before you worry about the ability for others to understand you as well too. Some of the other issues of business planning, I think, is also getting a sense of what your core values or what's important to you and your other members of the family as well too. Some of the core values I think that are important to think about would be, number one would be financial stability. For example, is your goal to provide for family living needs? Are you thinking about providing funds for retirement? Are you also thinking about potentially keeping debt to a minimum as well too? I think for many farm businesses, borrowing money may be something they need to consider for the growth of the business as well too. Borrowing also is not necessarily borrowing from a lender. It may be borrowing from other members of the family as well too. So when you're thinking about developing a farm business, be thinking a little bit about the source of capital, the sources of capital, the amount of capital that may be needed to get your business off the ground, and also for your business to grow as well too. I think the other issue on financial stability, I think, is also thinking about retirement. I know for a lot of folks, thinking for retirement may seem a long way off, but I think thinking a little bit about how your business will fund your retirement needs is important as well too. For many small businesses that are proprietors, there may not be a 401 a formal retirement plan program. So thinking a little bit about retirement funding, may be an important component of your business plan as well too. Another core value I think is important to think about is, for example, stewardship of the land, air, and water. For example, improving soil health, using only sustainable farming practices. Whether you're considering organic certification or using conventional methods of production as well too. But that may also come into play in terms of your core values. The other one to consider would be the quality of life for you and your community. For example, serving as a mentor to other farmers. I find that working with farmers over the many years is that you can learn a lot in talking with and chatting with other farmers in your community as well too. And as your abilities you grow as well too, maybe serving as a mentor to other people that are entering agriculture as well. It may be considered a way of life for your family, for you and your family. It may be an issue of but buying local. More and more of our farmers here in Connecticut, for example, are selling more retail, selling more local as well too. And it was interesting the impact that COVID-19 had on a lot of our farmers here in Connecticut, but finding that basically their sales actually went up during the COVID-19 pandemic, because more and more of our consumers are looking to buy local. They're looking to, know who their farmer is, maybe concerned about the carbon footprint, et cetera, as well too. So again, it's be a matter of, that may be something that you wanted to do as well too. And lastly, it may be simply to make a difference, to have products that you are proud to sell as well too. In terms of determining your core values, I think it's important to determine, what is important to you, and take the time to write down your core values. Share your core values and ideas with family members and others that will be impacted by your decision to set up a farm business. Also, it's important that if your core values are different from other members of your family, you must reconcile how you will handle as a team differing core values. And again, understanding what motivates all involved is critical to this process. There are other important steps to consider, I feel, in the development of a business plan. Develop a personal needs assessment. For example, how much money do you need to live on each month? Add up all your bills and what are your expenses on, say, on a monthly basis for food, for clothing, for insurance, for taxes, transportation, all those kinds of expenses. And get an idea basically of what's going to cost you to live for you and your family on a monthly basis. Say it's $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $7,000, whatever it is in terms of what your out-of-pocket expenses are on a monthly basis. And then think a little bit about how much of this will be drawn from the business. If you're developing a business and you're looking to generate, income from that business, how much will that business generate on a monthly basis, and will that be sufficient to cover my family living needs as well too? If not, you may have a part-time job. Your partner or life partner or spouse may have another job as well too to support the family living needs as well too. But I think an important component of developing any business plan, we think a little bit about the financial part of it. What are your financial needs? And can the business I'm thinking about developing support those family living needs? If not, would this be a part-time business? If it's going to be a full-time business, maybe you need to rethink, the kind of business you're developing and what the future of the business may be relative to providing for my family living needs. The other important point to consider in developing of a business plan is joining member organizations. And I think you can learn a great deal by joining appropriate commodity organizations and other farm groups. Many commodity organizations are available in Connecticut for different commodity groups, whether it's vegetables or fruit, dairy, et cetera. Joining, for example, Connecticut Farm Bureau, being on the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, email list as well too for information from them as well, may be very helpful as well too. So join organizations, talk to farmers, go to farm meetings, gather all the information you need in order to make a good farm business decision. Another aspect of your business is making sure that you basically discuss all aspects of your business with your attorney. making sure that your business will adhere to all legal requirements. Will there be any lease agreements, any rental agreements, those kinds of things, making sure that they're done properly and legally. Discuss your ideas with your insurance agent. If you've got a business now and are changing the business somewhat, it may be making sure your insurance agent knows, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Keep them informed. They're there to help you. The last thing you want to happen is having a problem on the farm, and your insurance agent says, well, that claim is, you're not covered by that risk or by that loss. So again, make sure you share with your insurance agent everything that you're doing on the farm. Is it retail? Is it wholesale? Are you inviting people on the farm? Do you have livestock? Do you have a petting zoo? Et cetera, et cetera. So making sure that you're doing all the things properly. Talk with a lender, about, what your funds may be that you need. It may be that maybe now you don't need to borrow money, but in the future you may need to. So maybe, meet with a lender to discuss with them what their lending requirements are, what their needs are, and what it would take to make funds available in the future for operating funds. It may be for capital improvements. It may be, for example, to buy equipment, land, buildings, etc. So again, talk with the lender to make sure that funds would be available if needed. And lastly, talk to an accountant. Making sure that you understand the record keeping and tax requirements of your business as well. You've got to file with the IRS. You've got maybe information that lenders want as well too. So again, making sure that you and your accountant sit down and discuss what your needs are, and that your record keeping meets the needs of the IRS, local tax authorities, the state, for example, as well too. Now we're going to get into actually the writing of the business plan itself. And a business plan is an essential element to set production, financial, and other business goals, along with a plan to achieve those goals. So it's kind of that roadmap, if you will, to go kind of from the idea, your dream, so to speak, to the entire development of the business plan, including financials as well too. It can help you judge the progress of your business and potential areas that could be improved as well. And finally, it helps you measure results compared to your plan and keeps everyone working towards the same goals. Please note as well that businesses require different plans through the life cycle, from a feasibility study before startup to the expansion plan to an analysis of other business changes as well too. So I call a business plan really a dynamic living document. It's not once and done, so to speak. It's there for you to review, to judge your progress. And as you also make changes in your business over time, then you would need really to update your business plan as well too. It must also be noted that the business plan itself is an important document you can provide to your attorney, to your accountant, to your insurance agent, to potential lenders, and also to potential grantors as well too. For example, if you're looking to apply for grant programs, say grants from the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, they require to some degree as well too a business plan of some sort, so they can make appropriate decisions as to who they're going to fund with their grant programs as well. I think that a complete business plan must have these 6 components. Now, maybe not all identified exactly in the same way, but I do think that a business plan must have this information. I've organized them into executive summary, business description, operations, marketing, management, and financials. The other question I get many times from farmers or people who want to get involved in business would be, how long should this be? Is it a 5-page document, a 20-page document, a 100-page document? And my answer generally is, well, it depends really on your business that you're developing. Is it a new business, an existing business, and how complex is the business itself? It's really whatever it takes so that you can really decide or convey the nature of your business. I see a lot of business plans anywhere from a dozen to 15 to 25 pages. Those typically are the average of what I see. I think it takes around that amount really to include all the information that you need to convey to the reader as well too. So while there is no set amount, I think that 15 to 20 page limit is really what I see as minimum to convey all the information that you need. The executive summary really is typically, I would say, 1 to 2 pages long. It provides a brief, cohesive overview of your business. Explain to the reader basically what you're doing, because generally, basically the reader doesn't probably know you and probably doesn't know a lot about your business you're introducing. So give the reader a brief overview of the kind of business that you're developing. Is it retail, wholesale? Are you growing crops? What kind of crops? Those kinds of things. I think another important component of the executive summary is a mission statement. Businesses, I think, are important to be able to convey, how do you define your business? It merges your set of values, your core values, and vision into a set of principles that will describe your business. It also communicates how and why your farm business exists and how you want your customers and community to view you, your values, and your business. I suggest respectfully, do a Google search on various agricultural farm business mission statements. I think it'll give you a pretty good idea of how to develop a mission statement for your business. Again, this should not be long. 2 or 3 sentences, I think, are sufficient to convey how do you want the public to view your business. Again, what are your values? What's your vision for the future? An important component of the executive summary are setting goals. And I personally think all goals should follow the SMART concept: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. For SMART. Be specific. Provide a specific and detailed description of the goal that you hope to achieve. For example, who, what, when, where, why, etc. Measurable. State your goal in such a way that there's a way to determine if the goal has been reached. How many? How much? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? Is your are your goals realistic? Is it something you can achieve basically by a certain time frame? And timely would be a specific time frame must be given. Someday or in the future will not work. Be specific as to when you want to achieve a specific goal. I think the initial business plan should have anywhere from 5 to 8 different goals. Goals can be both personal as well as business as well too. But again, they must be very specific. When do you want to achieve something by? It may be a matter, you want to erect a greenhouse. Well, what size greenhouse? How large and by when, etc. So it's a matter then of saying, exactly when you want to achieve something and exactly what it is you want to achieve. So keep that in mind. SMART goals are very important because you're going to use SMART goals to measure basically your level of your rate of success or amount of success you're attaining as well too. And these goals can change from time to time and will change from time to time as well too. So I think goal setting is very, very important, but again, they must be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely to be effective. Next is the business description. The business description is a much more detailed description of your product and or service. Go into the details in terms of exactly what you're growing, etc. So a much more detailed overview of your business. Another important component of the business description would be a listing of assets needed in order for your business to function. How much land do you need? What kind of land, etc.? How much tillage, etc.? What about buildings that you may need as well too? Now this holds whether or not you already own the property or whether you got to acquire it as well. Here, you're simply brainstorming here, I think, in terms of what assets you need in order for your business, your idea, your dream to function. Land, buildings, equipment, tractors, trucks, other kinds of tillage equipment, etc., that you may need as well too. So not only list what you need for your dream to work or to attain your dream, but also the cost. What would be the cost that you would need to acquire this as well too. We'll be talking more about financials later on in this presentation, but here you're really brainstorming, I think, is what assets do I need in order to for this business to function, and how much of an investment is needed for this business to function as well too. And lastly would be legal form. For example, do you want to operate a proprietorship, corporation, partnership, limited liability company? These are things that you would need to consider as well too for your business. Discuss these options with a qualified attorney. There are issues, there are attributes of various kinds of entities. I know a lot of businesses now are limited liability companies, LLCs, but again, there's features of all entity types, and I think you need to consider all your options and pick the option that basically meets your needs as well too. So options may be proprietorship, sole proprietorship, partnerships, corporation, either sub S or C, and then also becoming a limited liability company as well too. And again, different states have different options as well as one individual in an LLC as well too. So again, discuss those needs with a qualified attorney. Next, in the business plan, it would be developing your operations. Here you will be describing basically on what you'll produce, how you produce it, and how much you will produce. More detail over and above the business description. Within this section, expand on your products and be very specific. What about things like inventory management, licensing, permitting, and regulations needed? For example, certain areas, are there any inland wetland issues? If you're dealing with food, what about the new FSMA regulations or GAP certification as well too? Does a town, for example, require any licensing or permitting for putting in a retail establishment, etc.? Here's where you're trying to make sure that you're abiding by all the local, regional, state, and federal regulations as well too. So you can do what you want to do where you want to do it. Also things like zoning as well too. What about any zoning regulations? Again, here you're trying to make sure that you're addressing all the issues operationally about operating your business. And then lastly, what about any environmental issues that could be encountered as well too, in terms of roads and all those kinds of issues as well. Also review any risk management tools that will be utilized to manage risks such as crop insurance, other forms of insurance, and enforcement of, again, food and work safety standards. If you're growing crops, you may decide to insure some of those crops with crop insurance. If you're dealing with issues concerning, say, bringing public onto your property, what about liability insurance relative to bringing people onto your property as well too? Again, this is where it comes into play here, talking with your insurance agent, your attorney, etc., to make sure that you addressed all the basic risk management tools that you need in order to minimize the risk being in an agricultural business as well too. Next is discussing or considering your marketing options as well. I think marketing really has two components. The first, I feel, is market analysis. Analyze the industry in your area. Do a description and analysis of the business. Is it growing? Is it expanding? Etc. So talk a little bit in your market analysis of the industry in general, not for you specifically, but in general, the industry that you're engaging in. Think a little bit too, who are your target customers? Who would you define as your ideal customer in terms of what their needs may be as well? Do a demographic analysis. That includes things addressing things like, gender, ethnicity, economics, age, etc. It ties into your target customer as well too. So a demographics may be, if your target customer is of a certain age group, is that target group expanding? Is it contracting? So you're trying to, first of all, to determine, who your target customers are, and then analyze really the demographics to see, is that demographic growing, expanding, or contracting? I think that's also very important. Next will be competitive analysis. Who are your competitors? How many competitors do you have? Do they seem to be expanding or contracting as well too? So who is your competition? Maybe also look at the region, say within a 5-mile radius, 25-mile radius, 50-mile radius, thinking a little bit about your business and about who your competition is, etc. So think a little bit about that. And lastly, I would say, is there a market for what you want to sell? And is that market expanding or contracting, as an example, as well too? So describe your industry, define your ideal target customer, look at demographics. Is it expanding or contracting in certain areas? Who's your competition? And that ties, I think, into, is there a market for what you want to sell, period. Once you've done the market analysis in general, now I would say you look specifically at your operation for marketing and sales. Success, I feel, requires the correct mix of product, price, promotion, and place. In other words, you have the right product that people want to acquire as well too. For example, are they looking for value added? If you're a fruit say, grow apples, are public looking for apples, or are they looking for maybe pies or things of that kind? What are they looking for in terms of products? And a lot of our farm businesses now are adding value to their what they're growing or producing as well too. What about price? Are you competitively priced as well too? How will you price your products? Certainly, you need to consider pricing that will cover your expenses and generate a profit as well too. Finally, next would be promotion. How are you going to promote or advertise your products as well too? Will you be using social media? Will you be using a website or a combination thereof? Based on your demographic or your target customer, it may be that how they find you will be through using social media, or not. So the way you advertise or promote is really tied into who your target customer is and how they will learn about you. In my opinion, there's no question that now for a lot of our customers, using social media is critical. Having a website is critical to your success as well too. Certainly word of mouth. Also, maybe periodically, newspapers or journals as well too. But you got to think a lot about, how am I going to promote my product, to my target group. Finally, would be place. And again, place would be, where people will arrive at basically to buy your product or service. Now more are looking at online sales as well too. It may be delivery, it may be online, it may be you pick up, etc. For example, in the last few years with CSAs, sometimes now some farmers with CSAs are delivering to a central location is in terms of everyone coming to the farm location. They got to think a little bit here about, is it the right product, either value added or not, at the right price relative to say competition, etc. Am I promoting correctly or properly or efficiently? And am I selling it basically in the right place? Or do I need to consider options for place like online sales, central delivery, those kinds of things? I think next would be ensuring product or service satisfies customer needs. More and more businesses now are looking at, customer surveys, etc. Again, make sure you stay on target, on point, making sure that your product continue to satisfy customer needs, and you're changing your product mix or delivery as the needs of your customers change as well too. If you don't, your competition will. So again, making sure you're always monitoring appropriately what customers' needs are. Lastly, I would say determine the features and benefits of your product or service. Features are something your product does. Benefits are what the benefit is of that feature to your customer as well too. So I would say typically people buy on the benefits of those features. So when you're thinking a little bit about your marketing strategy or talking with customers, etc., be fully aware of what your product features are, whether it's a product or a service, but what the benefits are of that product to your customer as well too. So talk up benefits, but you must understand the features of those products or services as well too to be effective. Also part of marketing, I feel, is doing what I call a SWOT, what we call a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm not sure who invented the SWOT analysis. Whoever did came up with a great concept. Strengths are those things that are internal to your firm. What do you do well? What do you do well? And maybe that you grow really well. You've got a lot of experience in the farm business as well. Weaknesses are also internal to the farm, but are things maybe that the firm does not do all that well. It may be some areas where they, they maybe need to improve, what they're doing on the farm. It may be, for example, it may be employee turnover. And you might say, well, that's something I have to work on to try to reduce the impact of employee turnover as a weakness. Opportunities are those things that are external to the farm. They're external. They don't directly, you don't have direct control over those opportunities. And threats, like opportunities, are things that are also external to the farm. I think an understanding of a farm business strengths and opportunities can help the farm business to achieve goals, while an understanding of business weaknesses and threats can help to identify areas that must be overcome or reduced to achieve its goals. I think recognizing what one does well and what one does not do well is important to try to improve upon those weaknesses and hopefully maybe turning those weaknesses into strengths over time as well too. All the weaknesses may pop up, but again, you're always trying to overcome those weaknesses and hopefully turn them into a strength. Again, opportunities are things that are external, but it's basically saying, how do I take advantage of that opportunity? It may be a change in the economy, and it may be a change in growth in your area as well too. An opportunity may be that more and more consumers are looking to buy local from a local farmer, etc. It's how you take advantage of those opportunities, I think, are important, and how you react to threats that may come into play as well too. Competition, added competition may be a threat. It's how I think you react to that. The competition is not going to go away. It's how you react to the threat. It may be where you change your product mix. It may be where you change your promotion. It may change how you approach dealing with those customers. But again, it's how you react, I think, to that to try to reduce the impact of those threats as well too. I think doing a SWOT analysis is important, at least annually. It may be something you don't change your business plan annually, but I personally think doing a SWOT analysis at least annually may be very helpful, again, to turn weaknesses into strengths, and to recognize opportunities, and to try to figure out a way, how do I overcome threats to my business as well too. Next would be management. Management is all about people. It's really the people aspects of your business. Developing policies and procedures. Also, I would say, consider an employee handbook that will include these policies and procedures. Dealing with things like maybe, sick time, being late to work, being not late to, all those kinds of issues. What about vacation time, days off, sick time, attire, those kinds of things. So making sure that all the employees are aware of what all the current policies are and procedures are for dealing with your employees. Determine what employee skill sets are needed for the job to be done well. Many businesses require many different skill sets. Consider what those skill sets are and write them down. Now, maybe one employee, may be handling more than one job on the farm, but try to identify all those jobs that have got to get done and got to get done well for the business to be successful. Develop an organizational structure to allow tasks to be done efficiently. Basically, have a chain of command set up. It may be, who's in command, who's in charge, will there be middle management, etc. So consider, basically, in my opinion, that all employees must only have one boss up through the chain of command. So it's a matter of organizing a structure so that everyone knows, who their boss is, and again, making sure the organizational structure or chain of command is set up efficiently. And lastly, I would say develop job descriptions for all positions, including employee management systems regarding recruitment, salary structure, etc. Every job, in my view, should have a written job description in terms of what that job entails, what the issues are, and what the skill sets are needed to complete those jobs. I also believe that when you're hiring employees for a job, make sure you share with them their job description. Ask them, for example, to understand all aspects of the job description. Maybe even sign and date it as well too, to ensure that there's proper communication between the employer and the employee, to make sure the employee understands what the job entails. Hopefully, there's no confusion later on. So again, the management part of the business plan is really the people aspects of your business for all your employees. Lastly, or number 6 in terms of the business plan component or structure, are the financials. And I find that many times this probably takes the most time and provides the most stress relative to developing a viable, accurate business plan. Again, every business must file tax and information returns with local, state, and federal authorities. And again, organized, accurate records make this easier. Well-maintained financial and production records, help for management and control. And again, good records are really a foundation of a profitable business. I think I mentioned earlier as well too, that good records or financials provide information necessary to secure loans and apply for other programs such as grants. Lenders want to make sure that you can pay the loan back. Okay, so what they're trying to say is the financial will help you to document the loan request to the lender, to hopefully document, yes, based on my assumptions and my business plan, I indeed can make the payments as agreed back to the lender. Also, as mentioned, many grantors also require a business plan as part of their grant documentation as well too. So please keep that in mind as well when you're applying for a grant. A business plan is an excellent way of documenting that grant or the grantor as well. Also note that for a new business, it may be difficult. You really have no historical data. So it may be a matter where you need to look at benchmark data to support your projections. What benchmark data is really is information from other businesses such as yours that document basically, your business. With the benefit of Google now, you can Google really benchmark data or production data from a lot of land-grant universities. I know, for example, I do a lot of referencing to Penn State, Cornell, and other organizations as well. So you're thinking about developing a new business. You really have no historical data to rely back on to document your business. Think a little bit about analyzing and researching other data that may be out there as well too, in terms of what is the average production per acre of a certain vegetable crop or fruit crop, etc. And again, there's a lot of good data out there that can help you to really to put together information to document your business plan. There are, in my opinion, there are three basic financial statements you will need to include as part of your business plan. First would be historical and projected income statements. This statement includes business income and business expenses over a period of time. It determines if your business is or will be profitable. So it simply is what they call a profit and loss statement. It's all your income plus all your expenses for a given period of time, typically on an annual basis. If you've been in business before, your business, you would need to really to highlight basically your historical data, maybe 3 years back, 2 years back, 1 year back, and then project, say, 1 year forward, 2 years forward, 3 years forward at a minimum as well, to get a sense of where the business has been and where it's going. Also, you would need to produce historical and projected cash flow statements. A cash flow statement is basically measures all money going into your business and all money going out of your business for a given period of time. It's not the same as an income statement. An income statement is purely business income less business expenses. The cash flow statement measures all activity. For example, money borrowed is not income on a business income statement, but it's part of your cash flow. Money you're paying back is not on a P&L, but is also part of your cash flow. Family living, for example, also is an item of expense on your cash flow, but not an item of expense on your business income and expense statement. So again, cash flow is a measure of all money flowing in less all money flowing out for a given period of time. It really, I think, enhances the documentation, say to a lender, or even to you, can I cash flow this business? Will I run out of money, along the way as I develop my business as well too? So I think that's a critical part of understanding your business dynamic, is understanding or trying to ensure, will my business run out of money during the season? Can I make payroll when I need to? Can I withdraw need from my family out of the business as well too? It's a different way of measuring basically business success. The third item is what we call is also an historical and projected net worth statements. Net worth statements are basically a listing of your assets, what you own, less liabilities, what you owe as a given point in time. So on an annual basis, generally speaking, at the end of the year, if you're on a calendar year basis for tax reporting, you do it by financial statement or net worth statement as of, say, 12/31 of the year. So at 12/31, say, of 2021, you would list out all your assets, what you own as of that point in time, less all the money you owe as of that same point in time as well too. The difference, or what's left, is called net worth. Kind of what's left. What have you earned? What's your net worth at the end of the year? You again would do this, say, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and then also what you project for 1 year out, say 2 years out, 3 years out as well too. So it's critical to determine basically levels of net worth. You're looking for trends as well too. Is my net worth going up on an annual basis? Is it going down on an annual basis? If so, maybe analyze, why is that so? So again, as a review, you basically would need, in my view, basically to have at your disposal or as part of your plan, 3 financial statements: income statements, projected and historical; cash flow statements, projected and historical; and then net worth statements, projected and historical as well too. Also, now just want to get, as we finalize or end our presentation today, kind of a listing of some resources and some basic financial statement information. This is simply a slide of a typical, what we call net farm income statement. Those that have been filing a tax return before, it looks a lot like a Schedule F in a sense. It also refers to, on this document, an IRS Schedule F. It basically lists your farm business income plus expenses with a net farm income over a given period of time on an annual basis. Again, so either historical or projected, for example, what will be my business income projected and expenses projected as well too. What do I project, say, for a projection amount, what my net farm income will be in that projection year? If it was historical, it would simply be basically your Schedule F or similar document that you filed with the IRS in the last number of years as well too. Here's a copy of a net worth statement of what a net worth statement would look like. Again, you can see here it lists all your current assets, all your assets, what you own, plus what you owe. I also draw your quick attention to the 2 values are what we call cost value and market value. Market value is what you deem those assets worth as of that point in time. Say you're going to sell them on the open market or by an appraisal. So that's what you simply think, what is that asset worth on the open market? Typically, cash is cash, obviously, but things like, what about your equipment? What about, say, your livestock? What about your real estate? So market value is what you think it's worth as of that point in time. So you're taking this balance sheet as of 12/31/21. It'll be what the feeling is those assets are worth as of that point in time. You can also hire an appraiser to do that as well too. Cost value is really what the cost was of that item, say less depreciation and amortization as an example. So it really is cost value, not market value. An example might be land you might have bought 10 years ago for $100,000, and that's the cost value today. That's what you paid for it. But what's it worth today? It may be worth 10 times that today. So your balance sheet can be either on a cost value basis or on a market value. Typically, I find most balance sheets for, say, lending purposes are on a market value basis. For accounting purposes, typically on a cost value basis. Next document is a statement of cash flows. You can see basically it's a listing of all your cash in less all your cash out. The goal is basically that your business can't run out of money. It can't run out of money. So what do you need to do? What does your business need to do to ensure that it doesn't run out of money? It may need to improve profitability. It may be to increase your borrowing capacity. It may mean to reduce family living draw, etc. But this gives you a sense, basically, is what do I need to ensure, basically, that my business will not run out of money. It's also used for projection. For example, if you're going to borrow money, when you create historic projected documents, you're going to factor in the extra monthly payment as a result of borrowing more money as well too. So again, the cash flow statement basically documents will my business run out of money as I project. The last spreadsheet or document to show you today would be the partial budgeting form. Many times businesses like to look at, well, if I simply make a modest change to my business, how is that going to change my bottom line? You'll notice this document has 4 quadrants. Upper left is added income. Lower left is reduced costs. Upper right, added costs due to change. and lower right, reduced income due to change. We're trying to do here simply in one document, get a sense of, if I make this one change to my business, how will it affect income either up or down? How will it expenses either up or down? And does it add to my net income or not? This is, I think, a very useful tool, basically to get a sense of, if I make this one change, do I think it's going to add to my bottom line? And I think this can be a very, very, very helpful document in order to do that, periodically as well too. You might have an idea in mind, and will this one idea that I have, how will it affect my bottom line? Either increase it or decrease it, or not change it really at all. It gives you a sense really of an idea and whether or not it's worth pursuing. In general, then, or in conclusion, I think, once your business plan is completed, then what? Again, it's been said that difficult to manage what you do not measure. Update your business plan as the need arises. And again, look to ensure that you are on track to reach your SMART goals. If you are not, ask why. Why am I not on track? What changed? Could I have controlled anything that changed? Is there something that I could have done differently to be back on track? So it's something, I think it can be a very helpful tool, I think, during the season to get a sense of, am I on track? If not, why not? What do I need to change to get back on track? Maybe I got to change my focus, etc. And lastly, I listed here some helpful resources. The financial statements that I identified are from Iowa State, and the reference here, URL is there as well too. The partial budgeting form is from Iowa State as well. There's also a couple other publications I find could be very helpful. The Building a Sustainable Business from SARE. The URL was listed there as well too. Also, there's a template for writing a farm business plan available at the University of Minnesota. So if you're interested in writing a farm business plan, I find this template from the University of Minnesota called Ag Plan is very, very, very helpful. And I think you'd find it very convenient to use. It's an ag-based template for writing a business plan. It's a free, up to now, it's been a free service. They've got hints and tips and resources available as well too. So I suggest respectfully, if you're thinking about writing a business plan, basically then go to the Ag Plan system and get a sense basically of how the system can be used to help you to write your business plan. And at the bottom of the page also is a SWOT analysis from Penn State. And I promise the last slide is right here. That if you have any questions about this presentation, about writing a business plan, feel free to reach out to me at joseph.bonelli@UConn.edu. Also, there are other resources available at UConn Extension website. We have our Connecticut Farm Mismanagement website as well too, has a lot of information regarding risk management resources. And the last one, as you develop your farm business plan, it may be important to reach out to other UConn Extension specialists as well too. This website here gives you a list-based listing of all of the UConn Extension specialists that would be available. So whether it's fruit or vegetables or equine or dairy, etc., that all of these specialists are with UConn Extension, and they all can help answer all your questions as well too. So without further ado, then, that's the end of today's presentation. Again, any questions regarding business planning or developing a business plan, feel free to send me an email at your convenience at joseph.bonelli@uconn.edu. So without further ado, if there are no other questions, I will say have a good day, and everyone be safe and take care.